Welcome, Paula. Thanks for joining me at Renew Yourself. Really appreciate the time you're giving because both of us lead really crazy busy lives. But I asked you to join for a chat today because I guess coming from Townsville, I'm a new Townsvillian by 8 years, but you've been around for a while.
Born and bred.
I've kind of touched base with you here and there through different business stuff that we do. And I'm really inspired by your background when I read about it with this Fit Chicks group you've got, and really about, obviously where you come from with your health and nutrition. You turned into you lost a heap of weight, turned into a PT, then did this sculpting stuff, and it just goes on and on and on. And I'm like, that's some chick I want to talk to. Mainly about, obviously, you've got to use a lot of headspace to get through all that. But let's go right back to the beginning, how all this started. How did you start about Paula, who you are now?
So I was a big hooer. Well, I was a big hooer for me. I was about 30 kilos heavier than I am now. So I was and I'm only 5 foot really. So 30 kilos on a 5 foot frame is a lot. So I felt like a big hooer. Anyway, so I was getting married in 2002, and we'd just been back from Brisbane, and we had the time of our life in Brisbane. So I was quite heavy, worked in pubs, ate pub food and drank. We had the best time of our life in Brisbane, the best. And my body wore that best time of my life. I smoked a packet of cigarettes a day. I worked in pubs, so, drank every night pretty much that I worked. So anyway, my husband, my then fiance, asked me to marry him. So I thought, shit, girlfriend needs to lose some weight. Can't be walking down the aisle like a big boomba. So I got myself a PT at that stage, and I'd always wanted to be that athletic look. I always wanted to have that kind of look, but I was just in that lazy state of mind where smoking cigarettes and having bucket bongs and shit like that was much better than going for a run, So nothing like an impending wedding to shift some weight. So I got myself a trainer and lost a whole bunch of weight. And the trainer that I had at the time, they just moved here pretty much from Sydney, and they really started the whole natural bodybuilding in Townsville. So they said to me, oh, whilst you're losing weight, why don't you do a bodybuilding comp? And I was like, really? And I came home and I said to my husband, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. And he's like, what? What are you going to do that for? So I got married in the June, and I did my first show in the September of the same year. So I lost 30 kilos to get into my wedding dress. So I just continued that on and did my first bodybuilding show in Mackay, at Vibe nightclub in Mackay. And looking back on those photos now, I'm like, God, I needed another 6 months really to get in that bikini. But anyway, we got there.
I'm going to interject here. I've seen that photo. I disagree totally. So whoever's watching this video, don't listen to anything Paula says.
But so and that's kind of how it started. So I really enjoyed that whole process. I really enjoy. I figured from that moment that I really like things that test my mind. So when you're doing a bodybuilding show, you really have to. Well, it's all about food, right? Lifting weights is the easiest part, but it's all about controlling what's on your fork, and that really it was really hard. It was really hard to say no, and we couldn't go out anywhere. You couldn't have a drink. You couldn't do this, couldn't do that. So I loved it. I loved that whole process of it just being tough. So I think that's what sort of got me into it, because I just kept that role going.
Yeah. And what was your headspace like when you first started? Because obviously something inspired you. So you were getting married, so that inspired you to lose some weight.
Yeah.
And what kind of hurdles did you face in your head when you were going through that?
So I think the biggest thing that's started, like I just started. He'd asked me to marry him, and I was over it. I don't even know what shopping centre it was now. It was like Kmart or one of those. But I went into the dressing room, and this is what really triggered me to go to look at myself and be appalled. I was appalled at the state I was in. Like I was 24 years old, 23 years old. and I was a mess. Like, I was appalled at how I looked, how I'd let myself be.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was in this dressing room and I was getting changed, and, you know, they had those mirrors all around you. So I had hip titties, man. I had these back fat on my hips that if you put a nipple on them, seriously, they look like breasts. I was like, what the fuck have you done to yourself? So that was seriously the clincher for me. I was like, man, that's 23, 24 years old and looking like that. I was like, man, that's not cool. You've got to get your shit together, girl. So, and that was really the moment of, right, let's do something.
Trying to do something.
Yeah.
And then you've gone on. You just make me laugh, because I think we all have those moments to go, get out of that dressing room now, because they're scary as shit. Mirrors. I look at myself, and you know I train too, and I go, oh, look. Anyway, I think they should have those blinds that go down that you can look at yourself in a different light every time you look at them.
They're the worst.
They're not good for female bodies, let me tell you, unless you're, you know, Ellie McPherson or one of those naturally beautiful.
I'm all for them, because clearly that was what made me pull my head out of my ass and stop living in dreamland. So that was good for me. I liked that mirror.
That's awesome. And then you've gone on and you've had children, and then you've done it again. Like,
yeah.
Not just nuts, or like, seriously?
No, well, I wanted to do it again because I wanted to see if I could do it with having the 2 kids, you know, because I get clients and they come and they go, oh, you know, I'm a mum. Or, you know, you get lots of women that once they have children, they think that they can't do anything ever again. And I'm like, what? Shit gets better, man, you know, like. So anyway, I did it purely for the fact that I felt like I wasn't quite finished with it at that stage. Yeah. And I'd had the 2 children, so I went, you know what, let's do it again. Let's see if I can get my body in better shape, or if not, you know, do a healthier process. Because the processes I did in the first few years of doing bodybuilding were quite unhealthy, like to the stage, you know, really hectic dieting where you lose your period for quite a number of years, you know, so it was pretty harsh on the body. So, you know, which, you know, takes your body a couple of years. So I'd had a 7-year break. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. I had a 7-year break of bodybuilding. So my body was in pretty good nick hormonally, because I just had the children. I certainly waited for my hormones to sort of settle before I started that process again. Yeah. But that process that I did in 2014 after the kids, Max was 3. Max was 3. It was a really healthy process. So I went through, I got myself a coach, and he was great, and he took me to the stage where it was just really healthy. I didn't lose my period that time, and it was great, and I really enjoyed it. And then that itch was scratched, and I don't feel like I need to do it again. So, yeah.
That's incredible. I'm really inspired by you, and I'm sure everyone that watches this eventually will be inspired by you as well. And if you're a Townsvillian, just go and have a chat to Paula when she has 5 seconds of a time, like I've grabbed her, and get some inspiration, because you certainly are definitely that. Now, talk us through then. So you're a mum now.
Yep.
When did you do your own training? And
so I've got a diary that I abide by. Because if I don't, I'm sure you've got one too. Because if I don't, things just fucking don't happen. I'll tell you. Like, I don't even know if you could see that, but
no, it's glowing. I'm sure it's totally full.
It's ridiculous. You know, there's all sorts of colours on there. When you're going to ride, run, swim, gym, around all the clients. So I put it in my diary, and I try and tell my clients this: put it in your diary, and it's in there, and it's non-negotiable. Like, the only time that breaks that training session is you know, something to do with the kids. Like, if I have to do something with the children, then obviously then it's broken. So I'm happy to break it then, but it's absolutely non-negotiable. You just fit it in because you got to. Because you know, if you don't, I'm not a good mum. I'm not a good PT. I'm not a good anything if I don't do my own training. And yeah, I always try and lead by example, whether it be with my clients or at home with my children. So, and plus it's good for my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. When did you come to that point where you felt like you need to put yourself first? So one of the biggest things is that we find as mums
Yep.
is that obviously we put everyone else first. And if you work in any profession that's caring, you still put everyone else first besides yourself. So where did that phase come where you put yourself first and make sure you're humming to then be able to give so much to so many other people?
I guess when there's a particular goal in mind, like last year I did a half Ironman, and when I was doing that, then everyone worked around me. So it didn't matter, like there was a goal, I had to do it. And I just would always do that first. And then, I don't know, like I guess I kind of did both. I kind of put, everybody went in that same bucket, and we all did it. Like I made sure my clients were okay, although some of them might tell you that I'd slipped down a little bit because I was tired.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's everybody got the same treatment. Like I was doing it, they were like, and it seemed to roll because there was a goal. I was focused on that. I just fit it in and I just got it done. Like there was never a moment where, how the fuck am I going to do this? It was like, right, I've got to do this, so let's do it.
You know?
But I have to say, I do have an awesome husband who really picks up everything at home. Honestly, I would not be able to do a thing if he wasn't who he was and helped me like he does. So, if I didn't have that support, it just wouldn't happen, I don't think.
Yeah.
Simple.
Amazing. I live by my diary too. I concur with that.
Yes.
The only way we roll when we're busy. What would you say